Enterprises always strive to maximize employee productivity, which is a function of the quality of air we breathe within our workplace. It's the health and well-being of employees that ensure that the business functions seamlessly. New age buildings and office spaces today are becoming increasingly airtight, thus trapping the pollutants which enter with human activity and through office equipment. Indoor air pollution is known to have an impact on our efficiency, respiratory issues, skin allergies, and also limit the cognitive performance of the brain. ET Realty Workspace Efficiency Summit, presented by Cando TechSpace and Clean Air partner Honeywell, aimed to bring together the business leaders on a common platform to ponder on the topic which impact on a corporate's bottom line and its overall business. In his keynote, Senior Vice President of Brookfield Properties, Shantanu Chakraborty, shared his perspective on indoor air pollution, how it impacts us, and the initiative taken at Cando TechSpace in association with Honeywell across its campuses to improve the quality of air inside the office spaces.
Developers of urban built environment, it is our responsibility as well to address to the context which is all around us. And one of the biggest contexts today, and especially so for NCR, is pollution, is air pollution, and how it impacts us. And it's very visible when we walk outside, especially during the winter months, people wearing masks. It's a pretty hard hitting on our face. But what's something that kind of gets really, shoved under the carpet, if I may really say so, with a bit of pun intended, is the fact that indoor air quality is as critical a parameter for us to control, and this generally gets done in a very rudimentary and a very age-old fashion. As a result, there are research, and we will learn about that during the day. That there is, it impacts, the well-being of people, in turn, well-being of the organization at the large, impacts productivity, and so on and so forth. So really, the idea was to kind of, bring this whole issue to the forefront. What we can go back and disseminate back to our stakeholders, whether at our home or in our offices, where this issue needs to be highlighted, this issue needs to be brought to the fore, so that from a long-term perspective, we create an environment where the generations to come feel not just comfortable, but their well-being is also taken care of.
What may come as a surprise to most be the fact that indoor air quality can be up to 10 times worse than outdoor air quality and yet be invisible. Perhaps it's worth asking and understanding, how closely do pollution and productivity ultimately correlate? As professionals, we strive to give our best, and we all deserve a work environment that empowers us to excel. But what may come as a surprise to most be the fact that indoor air quality can be up to 10 times worse than outdoor air quality and yet be invisible. Perhaps it's worth asking and understanding what are the things that should be done to ensure the workplace continues to promote employee productivity. Also, is there a correlation between indoor air pollution, employee productivity, and performance? In an attempt to discuss all these, we are joined by a panel of subject matter experts who deliberated on the topic. Is indoor air pollution hampering productivity and outcome?
In your personal or your professional capacity, what have you done to draw more attention to the subject, and what's yet to be done in your opinion? I'd love to know where we stand to date and what the future holds, because the message trickles down from top leadership.
I think the very fact that we are all in this room and we're discussing the topic is, it kind of outlines the fact that we become aware that this is important for us. What have we done as an organization, and what we do in our everyday lives is a big question mark. We've started accepting that. We've not started measuring it. Till we don't measure it, we will not know the impact of it. So that's, I think, something which needs to be done.
Shantanu, I'd love to bring you in here. So we've crossed, or we've essentially crossed that chapter of acknowledgement, but not quite there in terms of measurement. How do we bridge this gap, and how wide is this gap?
What we at Brookfield have realized is that this will be a very important issue, if not today, but in some years to come, because now the social media is so active, the media in general is so active, people are aware about their well-being. What we see in Delhi is really hitting in our eyes, and maybe that's why when we started internally debating about what actions we should take, we really didn't think about what will be the returns on action. Because the moment you do such kind of analysis and paralysis, so we do such kind of analysis, we'll actually go into paralysis. We'll not take action. So we said that, okay, let's go ahead and do it. And let's see what the impact is. Now, it's just been less than about a little over 6 to 7 months that we've actually taken some action. We are yet to see a direct correlation of it, but I think a start needs to be made. Experiment has to be made. Even if that experiment may not be a fruitful one.
But my question, and Brigadier, I'd love to bring you in here, is that if these experiments are conducted, how expensive are they, and is the cost justified?
We become so cost-driven. While we will all have great things to say about our own organization, I also know KPMG is doing some great things. But overall, there is so much of pressure on, as a facility manager, we just had an internal discussion. It is very easy to save costs. But do I go to my stakeholders and say, okay, this is not the way to save costs? Do I put it across in a long-term perspective? The answer may not be yes, if I have to be truthful, right? See, the outdoor air, we are very perceptive about it because there's an odor, there's a humidity, there's a temperature factor. Now, this is what is coming inside, getting filtered to an extent, getting cooled to an extent, and also getting trapped. Now, the trapped so-called cool and fresh air, the pollutants which are trapped inside tend to multiply much faster than what will happen outside. However, since we don't realize it, there is no odor attached to it unless it's a faulty system, you tend to dismiss it. The costs have to be seen in a long-term perspective gain, which is, just Kashish brought out, it's not easy to measure. That is where the disconnect lies. So, while we cannot put it on the millennials, that the millennials are, not aware of this, they are much more aware of this. It is those senior level guys like us and on the stakeholders, leadership level, maybe other side of 50s, who have to take this major decisions and incur those costs.
I very recently came to learn that I, in fact, qualify as a millennial based on my date of birth. But that said, within my own organization, for example, I am nobody that's in a position of decision-making, especially on a subject such as this. So while the millennial generation may be eco-friendly and future-ready, our impact is inherently limited. So Piyush, how do you address a gap like that?
I think we are not at a stage where we accept the problem. The day we start accepting the problem, I'm sure we'll start acting on it. Let me just draw a parallel here. We see water every day. I mean, it doesn't present itself in a form which is muddy, but you just don't drink it, right? You don't drink it out of your tap water. But from the morning, when you wake up, to drinking an RO water, to carrying a water bottle, which is mineral water, going to a restaurant or a dhaba, depending on the nature of the restaurant, you kind of use, bottled or mineral water. We have accepted the reality that water, irrespective of the form it presents, is bad. Now, just a few statistics. Air pollution kills probably 3 more times than a foul water pollution, right? We talked about economics, right? Today, there is 5 to 6% productivity loss that certain studies in India and China have kind of shown when the air quality goes, above 50 in terms of the particulate matter. So I think the studies are there. I think there are very clear parallels which are drawn. I think it's up to us to really accept the problem. The day we accept the problem, I think all the leadership, I think, is going to act on this. So I think we are a bit away from accepting this as a reality. And that's the gap.
So, pollution in the workplace doesn't necessarily present itself as a ticking time bomb. You know, does science substantiate these claims, and are we not fully telling the story, or is this just simply not a critical issue?
Well, I think the issue is very critical. There's no doubt about the criticality of the issue. But it's about the onus of what people like us in this room do in our various organizations to influence the leadership around it. Right? So if you really see, this is not going to come from the West, because this is not a problem of the West. The air is very clean near the Alps. The air is very clean in California, in Canada, etc. So you're not going to draw inspiration from there. This has to be homegrown, as indigenous as, people may not like the word here, but as a Sulabh Sauchalaya, which was never found anywhere in the world, but India led the way on how to convert it into a big story.